Hey everybody, this is Robert from MeisMorphs. Well, reason I'm doing this video today is to kind of give you an idea of why me and my wife got into this sort of thing, dealing with snakes, breeding them, and keeping them as hobby pets. Well, short story short, we basically had a mutual fear of snakes. Usually as kids growing up, we had some relatively bad experiences with snakes. And unfortunately for both of us, it was the venomous varieties. I grew up on a Marine Corps air station in North Carolina. So most snakes that we ever saw there were rattlesnakes, copperheads, more than a fair amount of those, cottonmouths, and water moccasins. Never saw anything exotic like corals or anything like that, but definitely a few grass snakes, a couple black racers and stuff like that, but most of the encounters were with the bad variety. I had never known of any other snakes that were definitely like not indigenous to North Carolina or the United States, although I have heard of things like retics, Burmese, and boas, but never actually got to see any of those until I was much older. My wife has had a few friends that had snakes, and never was really sure on how well to handle them or whether to interact with them at all. So, well, along came the pandemic. Everybody was locked down and everything, and everybody was afraid about getting the COVID. Well, during the middle of, I believe it was 2020, when the lockdowns were still in place, me and my wife decided to, on a whim, go to one of the local pet stores and everything, like check something out. I had an idea of something I wanted to do. I wanted to basically get a snake. Get over my fears by immersing myself in it or with them. We started off with a ball python. Very small, just a little neonate, little happy little pastel orange dream. Little guy. Bright yellow, happy, just sat in the palm of my hand and just kind of like did his little thing. And that's kind of how it started. Oh, there you go. Careful, big girl. But we kind of worked our way up a little bit. We ended up getting at least a couple more ball pythons. So at the moment we have like 6, 2 adults, and everybody else is pretty much over a year old, and they are well over 1,000 grams each. As we got on, we got a little bit more experienced with them, and I got it up in my idea as like, why don't we try something else? Something that's going to get a little bit bigger. Now, because we do have pets around here and a little kid, I wasn't going to exactly surprise my wife and say, hey, we got a Burmese. We're going to need a bigger enclosure. Oh, I got a retic. Going to need a bigger enclosure. And it's like, no. She was like, we're not dealing with snakes that could eat pets and everything like that. Or choke us all out. So made a little bit of a compromise. First boa I got as a birthday present a little bit early for my wife. That one was Icaros. He's our Roswell laddertail. Then I found one more. That ended up being Musashi, and he is our jungle hypo. And he's slightly younger. He's still in the year and a half, 2 years age group where he's still small and very arboreal. And then got Athena, who is drooping all over me right now and using my arm as a branch. She is the oldest boa right now. She is coming in at 4, going on 5, which means here lately she'll be pretty much of the right size for breeding. But I want to wait on Icaros and Musashi to catch up. I mean, Icaros would be more closer to a breeding male size at the moment, but we're still getting our husbandry down on them a little bit, seeing as how their requirements for humidity and enclosures and temperature and lighting is slightly different than what you would need for ball pythons, especially if you want to go into breeding with them, and also because the risk with a snake that gives live birth is slightly higher than with something that just lays eggs. But we've gotten pretty confident in our husbandry so far. This time we're a little bit more ready for breeding season, because we decided to take a year off from attempting anything, because we tried it once and we didn't have an incubator on hand. We'd even figured that after watching our 2 adult ball pythons lock up that anything would happen. But it did. We ended up getting a few eggs, but because we didn't have an incubator on hand, that was pretty much a rookie mistake. But the availability of homemade or ready-made incubators was, around here in Virginia, a little bit hard to find, and some people who made homemade ones wanted a really exorbitant price, like the equivalency of like a month's rent for a homemade incubator. I was like, ugh. So we kind of had to take that hit. But my wife, my child, we're all comfortable handling our snakes now. We don't even have a fear of snakes. Although I do still tell my daughter to have caution about approaching snakes she can't readily identify or doesn't know. But I have told her about what kind of snakes are local here to the area. And if she sees a snake, no rapid movements, just slowly back away, don't do anything to piss it off, and just maintain your calm. Most snakes will just run away rather than stay and try to bite at you. But then again, they only do that if you are really instigating it and up in their face about it. But other than confronting the fear, I'd actually like to make a couple of shout outs to a couple of people on YouTube community on this one. Because I've looked to them for most of our research for getting into this hobby and having these guys as pets. So I want to shout out to Kevin McClurley for Nerd, Chris Hardwick from his YouTube channel with ball pythons and everything. Brian Barczyk from the BHB. Some of the feeding videos as well, like with Olympus Reptiles, Empire State Exotics, and even though this is off the subject of pythons and boas, Desert Wolf Armory, definitely get a kick out of the feeding videos with all the little rattlesnakes you got. I've commented on some of your feeds a lot when you've done live feedings, and I was like, but I just figured I'd let you guys know that, hey, because the information and stuff you've posted helped bring up my knowledge a little bit to deal with snakes on my own and with my wife, and that honestly you just made another person happy by basically giving in to the scales. But figured I'd give you guys your due notice and everything, because you guys have been in the industry and in the YouTube hobby world longer than most of us. So Thanks.